here's Brody Brazil.
The voicemail line is always open for you 24/7. If you've got a question, a comment, or any type of contribution to this YouTube channel, phone it in at 8334-BRODY. I listen to every single call and voicemail you leave, and then I get to play back and respond to the very best ones.
Hey, Brody, this is Mark from Murraysville, Pennsylvania. And I don't know if you heard, but the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court ruled that the Jock tax was unconstitutional. And I'd just like to hear your thoughts about that. And do you think it will lead to other states ruling that these taxes on athletes are also unconstitutional and maybe level out the playing field for teams that are in smaller markets? All right. Thank you.
Mark, I appreciate that. What are the ramifications of this Jock tax being overturned? And first off, we should also explain Jock tax. Some of you are aware that these exist out there at the city or state level, but others are like, what in the world is that? A Jock tax is something that's applied to the income of a visiting team player when they go perform in Pittsburgh or Cincinnati or Cleveland or Detroit. By the way, at the bottom of the screen here, there's a lot of other cities at the city level which implement a Jock tax. Not just the states they play in, which is also true. Most states have it, but a lot of cities have an additional Jock tax. That Jock tax was 3%. It's actually still intact to the tune of just 1%. More on that in just a second in Pittsburgh. But this Jock tax was basically to take high-income individuals, and when they have a game in Pittsburgh or Detroit or Philadelphia or St. Louis, when they go back to file their taxes at the end of the year, they literally have to break down all the cities they played in on the road, divide that salary that they made by all those different pieces. It is such a headache to think about that. It's obviously the job of a really good tax person, but Pittsburgh has had their Jock tax overturned by the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court. They ruled that 3% income tax on visiting players is unconstitutional. Now, this had been brought up in 2019. There was a lawsuit by 3 or 4 or 5 different current and former athletes at that time who started all this, who got the ball rolling. So we're talking about opposing players that come in to face the Steelers in football, the Pirates in baseball, and the Penguins in hockey. Basically, if you add up all of the Jock tax that they were facing, it's about $6 million going straight to the city of Pittsburgh. And it's not just the fact that all of this is going away from now on. It's the fact that because this was overturned and now legally former players going back, I don't know how many years, they can seek retroactive reimbursements to the Jock tax they've already paid that has now been deemed unconstitutional. Again, a lawsuit against the city is what started all of this. The city said that the 3% was broken down like this. 2% was going to a school tax, and 1% of that was income tax, which, by the way, is going to get to continue. So they're basically just eliminating the 2% school tax. And you wonder in all of this, and I'm not in the weeds as much as I could or should be on this story, but you wonder if the city of Pittsburgh was like, hey, you're taking away money from schools, from multi-million-dollar athletes, and you just can't give 2% of that to our local schools. That was probably the pitch when they were trying to keep this. But look, this exists not just in Pittsburgh, but in a lot of different states, in a lot of different cities. The other big cities that have this are Cincinnati, Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City, Philadelphia, and St. Louis. So the question here, is this a domino that's about to fall? Will some of these other cities now have state Supreme Court rulings in their respective states to say that, no, we're going to actually take this away too? This has been a source of income. This is more about cities doing well because of their sports teams than it is the income tax of players. I know that was brought up here in the call. I think what's more important to understand are the home team players in all of this, because half of their income, right, the home games they play, that's what's being taxed in terms of their paycheck. And some states just don't have any income tax. So I know there might be the misunderstanding that, well, this would impact and affect players that don't want to come play for the Pirates or the Steelers or the Penguins. It's not that. We're strictly only talking about the road teams here, the visiting teams that are all of a sudden participating in these cities. Let me also say that a Jock tax is one of the biggest reasons that Portland is putting themselves out there and trying to get a Major League Baseball team. In the state of Oregon, they are set to do a jock tax. Actually, they lined up a jock tax 25 years ago. They just added a little bit more fuel to the fire. They raised the amount of that jock tax and kind of the ceiling of it. It's $800 million that it could end up being for not actually, now this one's different. It's not visiting players. It's also home team players. If they ever had a Major League Baseball team in Portland, all of that money would accumulate for players, for coaches, for staff members, any employees of that Major League Baseball team and the visiting teams they play goes into a jock tax. $800 million helps fund the stadium that they want to build in Portland to try and draw a team. So it's weird, right? On one hand, you've got a city that's implementing a jock tax, and that's how they want to bring a Major League Baseball club there. But here in Pittsburgh, they've had 3 teams for a very long time, and they're getting rid of the jock tax for visiting team players. That's what's been ruled unconstitutional. Will this have some ripple effects? I think it might, but probably more so on those cities first, and literally the cities I've listed there at the bottom of the screen. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Should there be a jock tax for home team players and road team players, or just visiting team players? Should there be nothing additional compared to what the average taxpayer is faced with for income tax? How should we approach and handle this? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to see you next time.